Let the record show that I do not condone this situation whatsoever, but let me tell you, they were making me feel something. Hey guys, Melinda here. Let me tell you that this show has put a smile on my face because it was so good. I had so many good things to say about this show today that I am just excited to get into it. So we're gonna quit the chit chat and jump right into it. For those of you who haven't seen any of my other movie or TV reviews, I like to review it in a way that gives no spoilers so that way anybody can click onto this video, get an idea if they want to go watch it, and there you are. Today I am going to be talking about the FX original miniseries streaming on Hulu, A Teacher. That was like a mouthful to say. Yes, this is an FX original. It was a miniseries. It was a limited run, and it is streaming on Hulu. And I'll tell you, all of the shows that I've been waiting for and wanting to see have all been on Hulu, which is so frustrating because they're the only streaming platform that still has commercials. Come on, Hulu, step up your game. But yes, I am going to be talking about A Teacher, which I'm going to have to say this multiple times. I do not condone the act of a teacher sleeping with their student, minor or adult. It is inexcusable because I do believe that it is an abuse of power and taking advantage of a situation. But the way that this show portrays this situation had me so conflicted. I have so many different thoughts. It's leaving me with my mind blown. So we're gonna get started and start talking about this show. So like I mentioned, this is streaming on Hulu. It's very, very easy to binge if you're interested. It's only 10 episodes and each episode is like 25 minutes long. This is 100% a drama, a well-written drama, I might add. I was very surprised with how amazing this show came out, and that's why I'm so conflicted. Sorry, before I go any further, let me give you a brief summary of what the show is about. I've kind of already given it away, but we have a teacher and we have a student that comes together and has a sexual relationship with one another. It gets very convoluted because the student is an 18-year-old. So he is technically an adult. He is of consensual age, but the issue is that you shouldn't be breaking that student-teacher boundary. I would say it's okay. It's a very gray area for a student and a teacher to become friends. A good example would be that I was Facebook friends with my band director in high school, and she got in trouble because teachers aren't technically supposed to cross that boundary. So she had to unfriend all of us until we graduated, and then we could become Facebook friends again. So there is that fine line and that gray area that I think completely acceptable for a student and a teacher to become friends. It's at the time, it is considered inappropriate. So that's what this whole premise of the show is about, is this interpersonal relationship between student and teacher. And you obviously can see where the issue comes with all that, especially because the teacher is married. Yay! Let's add more drama to the mix, shall we? I'm not gonna talk any more specifics about the TV show because it will give spoilers, and I don't want to spoil anything about plot or plot twists, anything of that nature, especially because it is a very short, limited series. If I say one thing, I could spoil the whole thing. So that's all you're gonna get in context of the show. And let me also add that there are actually some pretty big names within this show, and that's probably the first thing that got me intrigued. Just to give you an idea, we got Kate Mara, who plays the teacher, Claire, Nick Robinson, who plays the student, Eric, Sierra Bravo, Ashley Zuckerman, Devin Bostick, Shane Harper, and a bunch of other people that I don't recognize, but you could possibly recognize. But those are at least the ones that I recognized and are familiar with, especially Nick Robinson, Sierra Bravo, and Shane Harper all came from either Disney Channel or Nickelodeon. So I grew up watching them, so I was very interested to see them do something outside of a kids network, especially to something of this extent, very adult rated content. And Kate Mara, she's just an amazing actress. There you go. I was already very interested in this cast and very interested in this premise. I have heard stuff like this on the news, and it always goes through my mind of what is the teacher thinking in this situation. It's very intriguing to see it told from the perspective of the student and the teacher, to see it develop and bloom and where they go from there. So we are gonna dive into some of my notes now because I had a few. So this show is actually based on a movie that came out in 2013, also A Teacher. I had never heard of this movie. I didn't even know that this show was based off of that movie. I think I would be interested in going and watching it one day just to kind of compare the two, but because I had never seen it, never heard of it, did not watch it prior, that I can't make comparisons between the two. So I will mostly just be talking about the TV show as a standalone. As a standalone show, it was amazing. I loved everything about this show. The writing, the acting, the directing, the cinematography, the sound choices, the story development, everything about the show blew me away. I was so fascinated by this show. I was hooked from the very first episode. I want to say especially the acting, because Nick Robinson and Kate Mara did such an amazing job that I actually believed their characters. I believe that they were in love with each other and that they were willing to risk everything to be together. I had so much emotion coming from these characters and feeding into them that I wanted so much more out of this show. I craved more. Like, I would love if there could be a season 2, but because it is a limited series, I don't think we're gonna get a season 2. Oh my god, they were so phenomenal. They did an amazing job. I wouldn't be surprised if they got nominated for awards for this show because they were so good. It's very rare that I see very, very good acting, and they did a superb job. I cannot express that enough. I cannot give them enough synonyms to describe how amazing their acting was, but it just made their character so believable, and it truly had me so invested in the show. So the only issue that I had with this show was the pacing of the timeline. What I mean by that is because it is such a condensed show, we get 20 to 25 minutes per episode. It's only 10 episodes. Of course, they have to significantly increase the timeline so we could see what happens with their relationship and the fallout, the consequences, the progression, just all of that stuff that we would see with this kind of situation. It makes sense that they had to really increase the timeline and speed it up, but I think it just was poorly executed. Like, I thought it could have been better and done differently. They would have these time cuts, these jump cuts of a few weeks to a few months to 6 months to 10 years. So we see that entire timeline within this short 10 episode run. I thought whenever they made those time jumps, it felt very choppy and unnatural and random to the point that I could not tell that we had just fast forwarded time, and made me very confused. And they had to very explicitly say, oh, it's the 10-year reunion of when Eric Walker was a senior. It's been 6 months since the whole teacher situation happened. Like, they had to really be on the nose with their dialogue to let the audience know that we just jump forward in time. And I didn't like that. I wasn't a big fan of that. I thought they could have done it differently and done it better. But again, I do understand the time jump because they want to show the progression in the story, where their relationship is going, and again, the consequences of what happens afterwards. So I get it, but I just wish it was done differently. So I'm gonna go back to what I've been saying since I started, and that's I do not condone this situation whatsoever, but I was actually kind of rooting for the characters. I am a firm believer that when it comes to an age gap between two people, that age is but a number and that it should not define the relationship. Prime example, I have a great friend who has been married, oh gosh, 10 years, I think, could be more, but her husband is 12 years older than her. They've been in love and they've been married for a very long time, and they have 2 beautiful kids together, and age is but a number. Who cares if there is a 12-year difference between them? So I'm a firm believer that age should not be a matter. But again, the issue is that it should not be a student teacher, because that boundary should not be crossed. Now, if they waited until he graduated, I see no issue with it. He is no longer her student. They don't have that that connection. Honestly, I would not have had an issue, but the fact that they crossed that boundary, that is not okay. That is very inappropriate and an abuse of power. So yes, falling in line with the very good acting and very believing that the two of them were madly in love with each other and that they couldn't stay away. They had more than just a sexual relationship with each other. They had like an emotional connection too. We get to see that develop and that grow, and that is honestly what made me root for them even more. I really wanted them to work. I wanted them to be together. I wanted Kate Mara's character to end her marriage so they could be together and there would be no issues. But because she is married and she's lying, she's having an affair with her student, so many issues wrong with that. Okay, I'm gonna move on. I absolutely hated how they ended the show, and that's a good thing. It did not leave on a happy note. It was not a happy ending. It was a very frustrating, emotional, and sad ending. And that's why I think it was good, because obviously with a complex situation like this, it's not gonna end well. And we all know it's not gonna end well. And so they really captured that. Again, the acting was so good and so believable that my heart hurt for them. And I so desperately wanted more. When the episode ended, I was yelling at the TV, no, that can't be the end. There has to be one more episode. We can't end it on a note like that. And it was done. It was over. It probably hurts more knowing that it was a limited series and it has such a small run time. Only the 10 episodes. Probably will never see anything from it again. That probably stings more because I want more. I want to know what happens between them. It was left way too open-ended is what I wrote. So yeah, that's how it ends. I'm very angry and very upset about it. I get it. Just conflicted is all. So we're boiling down to my last final thoughts and notes. This is a very adult rated show, very inappropriate, but I think it was done very well and it's very tasteful. I would say it's not for the kiddos for obvious reasons. And it's also a very touchy subject, so I would just have caution when watching it, but I highly recommend everybody to go watch this show because it was just so good and so fascinating, intriguing, just so well written. Very well written. I don't think it's a good thing that the sexual relationship got glorified the way that it did, because it crosses that boundary and it's an abuse of power and not an act of love, and there is no excuse for it, even though they did a great job at showing that they were madly in love with each other and they wanted each other, and it didn't come across as lustful or revenge or anything like that. So it came across very natural, organic, and very much that the characters were in love. See, here's the conflict again. And I'm just kind of on an endless loop and repeating myself, so we're just gonna move on from that. Child grooming is a real thing, and I do not condone this situation at all. But again, all around, very good show, very well written, amazing acting, all the other stuff, the editing, the directing, the cinematography, all of that comes together, plays a very key part, and makes this show what it is and makes it that much more amazing. There we go. There are all my thoughts, and trust me, I have way more stuff to say, but it will spoil some stuff. I don't want to do that for the sake of this TV show review. One last thought that I just thought of, I didn't write down, is that there are some side stories that kind of don't make sense. They don't play a role. They're not relevant within the story, within the main story. There's a few side stories that were not needed. There you go. There's everything. Again, have more thoughts, but won't discuss it for the sake of this video. But if you've seen it, you have questions, you want to have a discussion about it, please leave it down in the comments down below. I would die to go more into detail and context about this show because I loved it so much. So leave all that down in the comments down below. Let me know what you thought, your questions. Let's have a discussion. Other than that, that is everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you all for the support. If you like this video, go ahead, give it a big thumbs up. It would absolutely mean the world to me. And make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not already and you want to see more content. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Live life, always laugh, and enjoy the journey. Bye. Oh gosh.